Hello, my seductioneers. I am so excited to be in bed with you again this week, talking about a very important topic when it comes to dating and relationships, and that I've gotten a lot of audience questions about, which is emotional availability and unavailability. So I am going to cover both of those topics because when it comes to dating, really understanding someone's emotional environment is going to make all of the difference for your experience. But not only that, it's going to make an experience for who you are, right? So as a coach, I take you guys from neutral to the next level, and part of going to the next level is understanding where your blind spots are and where you can improve, and then also understanding where everyone else in the world is at. So let's start with emotional unavailability, and I have called it that alluring, enduring breakdown that haunts the world of dating. And the reason why I use that language is because it is absolutely something that we all struggle with. We meet people, we like those people, we want to have a relationship with them, and yet there's something unavailable about them and we can't quite put our fingers on it. So it is absolutely a breakdown, especially if you are someone who wants a real relationship. So I'm going to talk about 3 topics as far as emotional unavailability goes. One is, how does it manifest? So what does emotional unavailability actually look like on the court? Because we all have ideas of what it looks like, but it's good to have hard facts about how to truly identify it. Number 2, why is it attractive? Yes, we complain about emotional unavailability, and yet it seems to be a little bit alluring and seductive and attractive. And we'll talk about why. And the number 3 is how to avoid the danger. And I use the word danger intentionally because having strong feelings for someone who does not have strong feelings for you can be incredibly dangerous. And if you have experienced this once or twice or over and over again in your dating life, you're going to want to learn the tips on how to avoid that danger. Yes, and then I'm also going to talk about what emotional availability looks like. So once we're clear on what unavailability looks like, then what do we do about it, right? Problem, solution. So let's talk about emotional unavailability and how it manifests. I have a whole list of things over here, and this is deeper training, right? I'm trying to give you guys as much valuable information as I can in this training, but the truth is that this is like an onion with a lot of layers to unpeel. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to either ask in the comments if you're here with me on the live, or if you're watching the recording, direct message me or leave it in the comments there. Or if you want more one-on-one training about it, then schedule a mini session with me and maybe we can knock it out in 45 minutes, or we'll figure out whether or not coaching is the right fit for you. Okay, so how does it manifest? I would say in the world of dating, because there is unavailability in relationships, and there's unavailability in dating. So, I mean, the truth is, how we handle one thing is how we handle most things. So, if you're already in a relationship and you're struggling with unavailability, you might find some nuggets of gold in here. But if you're dating and finding unavailability, it's so nice to see it over here in the initial stages so that you don't end up over in the relationship space still struggling with this thing after spending some time with someone. So first and foremost is that they're hard to get a hold of. Now, we live in a busy world. We are social. We connect with other people. We have messages. We have video chats. We have Zoom meetings. We have in-person meetings. We have friends. We have hobbies. We have lots of things that keep us busy. So if someone doesn't respond to you immediately, it's valuable to keep that in mind. But if it takes them days to respond to you, yeah, that's a pretty good indicator that they're hard to get a hold of. And if they're hard to get a hold of, it means that they're not immediately available to you. Okay. Number 2 is that they're inconsistent. So as you're getting to know someone, I mean, before you get to know someone, when you're matching on apps and things like that, it's hard to gauge someone's consistency because you don't know that much about them other than what you saw in their profile and what they're giving you and, messaging back and forth in the app. But it's really about once you've moved off of the app, and if you need help moving off of the app, I have other videos in my video vault that will help you with that. But are they inconsistent? in terms of making plans, in terms of saying yes to things and then canceling last minute? Are they enthusiastic one minute and say, yeah, that sounds really amazing, and then the next minute they're hard to get a hold of, right? Which we already talked about. That is a sign of emotional unavailability. This is a big one. Unwilling to commit. Unwilling to commit. And how that typically shows up is that it's casual. It's casual. So when you're dating someone and you want to be serious and they keep things casual, perhaps they're keeping things casual because that's just who they are. But for you who wants an emotional relationship, something deeper than casual, that is a sure sign of emotional unavailability, because casual, by its very definition, means that it's not going to get that deep, right? It's not committed, it's casual. Number 4 is shallow interaction. So maybe you are spending a lot of time with them, and maybe they are showing up, and maybe they're not that hard to get a hold of, and they do keep the plans that they make with you. But when you meet, it feels very surface level. It feels very surface level. So you don't talk about feelings, you don't talk about emotions, you don't really talk about work, you don't talk about those things that matter to you, you don't talk about the tough stuff, you don't talk about the joys. All you do is talk about very basic stuff and then perhaps move on to the hibbity-dibbity, right? Because that's what shallow interactions are. You don't just meet with someone, have a brief conversation, and depart. When it comes to dating and romance, you're trying to look for a deeper connection, and if the interactions emotionally and verbally seem to be shallow, even though maybe the physical is deeper, sure sign of emotional unavailability. And then, yes, planning. So it dives a little bit into that consistency, but it's when you are trying to create a relationship with someone and they just don't seem to commit to the things that you want to do. So, hey, let's get together Friday night. There's a great movie happening at the local theater. Let's go out for drinks before, snacks after. What do you say? And the person says, sure, yeah, fine. And then it's their turn to maybe plan something, and crickets. And so then you reach out to them again and say, hey, this Thursday night there's something interesting happening. What do you say? And the person's like, yeah, okay, that sounds really fun. I'll show up and we can have a good time. And then it's their turn to plan something for the following week, and still crickets, and still crickets, and still crickets. So, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper when we get into how to avoid the danger part and really actually identifying what the danger is. But yes, those are typically the 5 signs of emotional unavailability. And I'm going to give you a 6th bonus sign, which is few feelings. So if you find yourself expressing yourself and sharing how you feel when you're around the person, or how they make you feel, or just feelings about the situation in general, and the other person's like, yeah, that's nice, thank you. And your heart is in your chest and it's pounding and you're like, I kind of just shared some deep feeling things with you and you're not reciprocating. Now, this is why in the danger part, right, we'll get there, but I want to drop it now, is that it's really important to understand the difference between a slow burn and no fuel. So when you're giving those emotions, it may be too soon for the other person, right? But if you've been spending enough time and gone on enough dates and had enough interactions with that person so that you actually do feel feelings and the other person isn't easily reciprocating them, yeah, you can label that as emotionally unavailable, okay? So number 2, why is emotional unavailability attractive, right? So when I mentioned earlier that it's alluring and enduring, emotional unavailability can be attractive, right? It doesn't seem like it should be, because when you're ready for a relationship, you just want that person to be on board with you. You have the same feelings, you're moving at the same pace, you want the same things, easy peasy, just like Hallmark tells you it's supposed to be. You fall in love and happily ever after. In reality, it doesn't quite work that way. And, if it has worked that way for you, then bless you. But for those of you who are watching me for dating advice, I have a feeling that it hasn't worked out that way for you. So real quick, audience question, Polly.gw has asked or commented, I find that most women expect me to always plan everything. It would be nice if they planned a date once in a while. You know, I completely agree with that. My personal philosophy is that dating should be like a tennis match, right? Where one person hits, the other person returns, hits, returns, hits, returns, hits, returns. A nice healthy volley. With that said, I do, as a woman who coaches men, is I do believe that you guys should be serving the ball 80% of the time. So taking a majority of the lead, because it's just very attractive when someone knows what they want, they're confident, they bring suggestions to the table, they make opportunities happen, and someone can choose to participate or not. However, that 20% of the time, ladies, for those of you who are watching this, it is important for you to be a valuable partner in the experience. So yes, if the guy plans one date, you plan the next one. If he plans 3 dates, you plan the next one. Or at the bare minimum, give him ideas of things that you want to do for a date, for an outing, for an excursion, for a vacation, whatever intimate moments you want to share with the other person, simply because it's not fair to leave the planning everything up to the guy, because that's kind of where we get into that complaints department, right? And I'm veering off just a little bit, but you know, women, we can complain and say, oh, he doesn't know what I like and we're not doing what I want. Well, that's an opportunity for you to speak up and say, let's go do this, or how about this? Because insider secret, and you guys can agree with me or not, let me know in the comments, is that men love direction. They might take leadership, but they do appreciate direction. So a little bit of a tangent, but so why is emotional unavailability so attractive? Is for some of us, it is perceived as an invitation to try harder. Hi. It's an invitation to try harder, right? So we are taught that the things that matter in life are earned. And that is actually a really valuable perspective to go through life with, is because things that are easy, while they might be enjoyable, we don't appreciate them quite as much as we do when we put energy and effort and we fought for something that we really want, right? But there's a light side and a shadow side to everything. So the light side is I've earned this. It's worth it. I feel really powerful and strong because I stuck with it. And then on the flip side, the shadow side is that sometimes we're really trying to fight for something that just is never ever going to give us the juice. We can squeeze and squeeze and squeeze, and we're never going to get the juice. So part of the reason why emotional unavailability that is attractive is because it feels like we're trying harder and we're earning something, but you have to learn when to cut your losses, and we're going to talk about that in the how to avoid the danger section. Number 2, and this is like a little bit deep here, right, is that when we already feel disappointed in the experience, it's not as disappointing when we get our hearts broken. I'm going to breathe and I'm going to pause and let you digest what that actually means for you, because I have a feeling that if you're watching this, it's impacted you. But when we are emotionally avoidant, and we're going to talk about that in the Patreon only section, but really trying to understand who we are in this whole game of emotional availability and unavailability, is that when we want feelings and yet we keep feelings at a distance, it's kind of alluring to deal with people who are keeping us at a distance, because then when we don't take responsibility and they don't take responsibility and then it doesn't work out, it's like, oh, well, I already knew this wasn't going to work out, so no big loss. Right? When I talked about that I can't solve all of the relationship issues and problems and dating things in this one video, that's something to dive deep on. So if that resonates with you, then please direct message me, because that's an area that I work with people a lot on. Number 3 is that if we are able to fix it, or at least that's the fantasy of, here's this emotionally unavailable person who's hot and cold and leaves me confused, and they like me one minute and they plan things with me one minute, and then the next minute they leave it up to me to decide how things go, and months go by and I feel like I'm putting in all this effort with no reward, is that if we're able to somehow transform that and shift that, right? Like that earning part is that we are somehow special. Here's this incredibly difficult person who is just fighting me every step of the way, but when I climb that mountain, I am just going to prove that I am this incredibly powerful person who has been able to conquer the unconquerable, right? Yeah, but again, when we get into the how to avoid the danger part, is that fixing, the desire to fix anybody, and this is for all of you out there, is very dangerous, because what you are living in is the future, and you are living in the world of projection, and you are living in the world of fantasy, so that you have a real person in front of you and you have created a fantasy future of who they could be if only you were able to work your magic and fix them somehow so that they turn from this cold, unavailable person into the most loving, juicy, wonderful partner ever. Now, with that said, when we get into the avoid the dangers part, there is the slow burn, right? Which is actually amazing. That's good for dating. But there's a big difference between a slow burn and absolutely zero fuel, and you just pouring everything you have into a black hole. Okay? And then we have the it's safe. It's safe, right? For some of us who are avoidant attachment, and that's a whole nother episode that we can do. But when we ourselves are emotionally unavailable and afraid to get into deep, meaningful feelings, relationships, and we want to keep things on the surface level, even though we say we want something different, who better to partner, right? Very loosely used there. Who better to partner with than someone who is also scared, who is also unavailable, who is also not really ready to get into the deep end. So you guys can kind of swim in that really shallow end and have some fun and be casual and, feel like you're getting enough feelings to not be hungry anymore, but not too many feelings that you feel overwhelmed. It can feel safe. Right? And so we're going to talk about that in terms of the how to avoid the danger part too, because it does matter where you are in the journey. Maybe, feeling safe and avoiding deep feelings is actually where you need to be right now. I'm never going to judge where anybody is at in their journey. What I'm here to do is help you get to the next level according to what it is that you want to get for yourself. So if casual is absolutely where you feel comfortable, then by all means, let's create a journey on how to keep things casual and fulfilling. Whereas if you're on that journey to have that deep, meaningful, very emotionally available relationship, then I'm on the journey to help you with that as well. So yes, for those of you who are here with me live, I'm here live every Thursday, 7 o'clock Pacific time, or 7-ish, but yes, I love having you here with me. And for those of you who are here with me on Patreon watching the recording, because that is a thing, I'm going to do some patron only training on how to become more emotionally available yourself and what there is to do about it. So for those of you in my live audience, I have so much gratitude and respect for you. If you found this helpful, let me know either in the comments or the direct message. And if you have somebody in your life that you think this would be helpful for, share this information with them. We all need help. We are all a community here, right? If you need to get support in your dating life, who better than to just have an expert who has shared something that's valuable to you that you can send to somebody else. I adore you. I love you. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week. Until then.